Recording in progress.
Okay, good afternoon, guys. So, welcome to the second session on international relations and organizations current affairs. Hope everyone are doing fine. So, is the audio and video clear, guys? Any replies in the Zoom? Okay, fine. So, shall we maintain the same pace like yesterday's session? Will that be fine? Okay. Okay then. So what are we going to do for the second session is that we'll be completing the remaining current affairs part, okay, and then we would be solving the previous year questions. So that is going to be our agenda today. So hopefully all the materials are being mailed to you, I guess. Have you received yesterday's images, maps, as well as today I had shared few also? Okay, fine. So you had received that also. Fine. So without any delay, let's proceed further. So the first topic for the day, cyclone naming. Okay. So the past years as well as the present year, we have witnessed many cyclones, especially in the Indian subcontinent. So I believe it should also be we should also be familiar with how these names are actually given to the disaster. So the main mandate, the naming of the cyclone comes under the work of World Meteorological Organization in association with the Economic and Social Council of Asia Pacific region, as we had seen yesterday. Okay, so it is a main function of WMO, and there are 6 regional meteorological organizations which are in respect, I mean in accordance with the regions as it has been separated. So these 6 regional organizations will discuss among the members of the particular region, and then they'll come up with the naming of cyclone. And in our region, okay, there are 13 countries, and they'll be preparing a list of 13 names each. So in rotation, they'll be choosing the names. For example, the countries in our region are Bangladesh, India, Iran, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi, Sri Lanka, Thailand, UAE, and Yemen. So if there is anything peculiar, then please make a note of it. Otherwise, just have a glance of the list of countries in our region. Okay. And the reason for me to highlight Myanmar, Oman, and Pakistan is that the last to last cyclone, that is Tauktae, was named by Myanmar, and the next Yas cyclone was named by Oman. And if in case a cyclone is going to occur in future, then it will be named as Gulab by Pakistan. Okay, so they just follow the alphabetical orders, and a total of 169 names has already been submitted. There is each country maintains a list of 13 names, so there are 13 countries. So a list has already been there. So whichever cyclone occurs, based on the alphabetical orders, it will be named accordingly. Okay. The 6 regions on a whole is not needed actually. So just have an idea of what are the countries that comes under the Asia Pacific region. And Indian Meteorological Department is that regional organization responsible for maintaining the entire list. Okay. And also a short recap of what had happened yesterday is that we had seen about the various subsidiary organs of United Nations, and we had also gone through different reports, and also we had gone through the differences between similar organizations like WTO, UNCTAD, etc. So that was the short recap yesterday. So hope you would have copied or had a glance of the countries in our region. So let's move further. Next is the Council of Managers for the National Antarctic Program. It's a very small topic. And we have an Antarctic Treaty, and that regulates the scientific research that takes place in Antarctic. And Council of, that is COMNAP, Council of Managers National Antarctic Program, is a forum of all the countries, to be more precise, the scientific organizations of respective countries that carry on their research activities in the Antarctic. Okay, so it is just a forum for them, and it was formed in 1988 to bring together all the member states' national Antarctic programs. Okay, the main objective is for delivering and supporting scientific research in Antarctic Treaty Area. It consists of 31 national Antarctic program, and India is one among them, and our national Antarctic program manager is NCPOR, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. It comes under Ministry of Earth Sciences. Okay, so what are the main functions is to improve the effectiveness of scientific activities that takes place in the Antarctic region, and it enables partnerships for scientific explorations, and as well as providing opportunities and systems for information exchange. It is primarily a technical forum that brings together all the national Antarctic program managers of respective member states. Okay, so that's a very small topic, but I thought due to the various scientific expertise that our country is involved in, I thought it should be relevant also. Next, yes, now we'll be stepping out into other organizations found in Indo-Pacific region related to maritime trade as well as the neighborhood relationships. Okay, the first is BIMSTEC, and to most of the organization, in brackets I would have mentioned their members, so please make a note of it. Okay, BBIN MTS, as you all know, it is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. Okay, I personally follow this format, okay, to most of the organizations, let it be SARC, BIMSTEC, and other South Asian organizations. So if you found it to be useful, then you would please make a note of it. So Bay of Bengal, about BIMSTEC, it is actually an interconnecting organization that tends to promote the relationship between South Asia as well as Southeast Asia, as a result of which we have members from both the regions. Okay, so what is the main objective? As the name suggests, it is an initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation that comprises of 7 member states. It was formed through Bangkok Declaration. Why I had mentioned the names is that earlier we had questions on what was Fortaleza Declaration related to, which was related to New Development Bank of BRICS. So similarly, if at all a question has to be asked in that region, so we should probably be thorough with these declarations also. Not everything, but at least the fundamental ones. Okay, so BIMSTEC through Bangkok Declaration, formed in the year 1997. The objective is to harness shared and accelerated growth through mutual cooperation. Just the map for your reference. It has been shared. So we'll move on. A small fact sheet about BIMSTEC. Okay, just have a look at it. It accounts for 22% of world population with a combined GDP of $2.7 trillion. Yes, we shall move to the next slide. And India is a founding member. Please make a note of it. And initially it was not with the members who are present right now. Okay, because only later Myanmar had joined and it has become BIMSTEC. Earlier it was BISTEC, which was the sectoral technical and economic cooperation. And it is also a sector-driven cooperative organization which focuses on trade, technology, energy, tourism, transport, and fisheries. And later it got expanded into other 9 sectors: agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation, counter-terrorism, environment, culture, people-to-people contact, and climate change. Of course, here, whenever any topic you go through and you come across such vast topics or areas of execution or areas of operation, you don't have to remember everything, but just try to highlight the theme wise. Say for example, socio-cultural. When it comes to socio-cultural, we can club culture, people-to-people contact, etc. Environment, climate change could be clubbed together. Security, counter-terrorism could be clubbed, and then economic development, agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation, it could be clubbed. So just remember the themes. Okay, So you just, whenever an organization is in your preparation schedule, then just go through the theme that the organization deals with instead of remembering all the topics individually, because that tends to add our effort, tends to add our work further. So instead of doing that, please make sure that you just stick on to the themes or that particular organization is working with. Okay, so okay, is video fine? Okay, fine. And the chairmanship of the organization rotates among the member states. Sri Lanka is the present chair, and initially they had no permanent secretariat, but later it was formed after 17 years in Bangladesh. And India has already held a summit for BIMSTEC. So the last summit was in Nepal, and also the recent arrangements or agreements that have been signed was with the BIMSTEC Ports Conclave regarding maritime interaction, port-led connectivity, etc. Okay, so the Indian initiatives like Sagarmala as higher are a partner as higher partnership with these in the organizations to improve the maritime trade as well as port-led connectivities. Next is India has been identified as a lead country in 4 sectors, that is transportation and communication, tourism, environment and disaster management, as well as counter-terrorism and transnational crime. The designation of lead country will enable India to identify specific projects in those selected sectors. Fine. So just have a glance at the areas where India has been selected as the lead country. There is a question, a common doubt. Usually chairmanship in any registered or organization rotates among member states, right? Not so. In organizations like say for example UNHRC, Human Rights Council, where the people go in for elected representatives, it doesn't work in that way. Okay, in most of the geographical organizations, let it be African Union or any other geographical organizations, SCO, the presidency or the head of the organization goes in rotation so that everyone is geographically represented there. Okay, but that cannot be applied in general to every other organization. So based on the mandate, based on what power or what responsibility that particular organization has, then the presidency or the head of the organization functions accordingly. Okay, so we cannot take this in general to all the organizations. Okay, next is BBIN initiative. So here I had clubbed all the organizations and all the related informations to what happens in Indo-Pacific and our neighborhood. Okay, so for the next few more topics, it will be like that only. So BBIN initiative, we all know that it is the between Bhutan and India, Nepal, Bangladesh, where Bhutan has not ratified owing to the environmental consequences, but it has given the go-ahead for these 3 countries to carry on with that. It is basically a seamless people-to-people connectivity arrangement that enables the interaction between these countries. Economic interaction by facilitating the cross-border movement of people and goods. And Asian Development Bank is the funding partner. And it leads to our next topic of SASEC, which has its secretariat by ADB. Fine. South Asian Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. Again, in the brackets, I had mentioned BBIN MMS, and here MMS is Myanmar and Maldives. BBIN and the S remains common. Try to revise like this so that it will be easy, and wherever you get confused, so you just have to remember that instead of remembering the entire thing. When it comes to BIMSTEC, it is MTS, and when it comes to this economic cooperation, it is MMS. So try to invent ways that help you to minimize your efforts and also prevent you from making minor mistakes during the examination. Okay, so the objective, it is basically a project-based economic cooperation that aims to promote regional prosperity, to improve economic opportunities, and to build a better quality of life. Okay. It shares a common vision of boosting the intra-regional trade and cooperation in South Asia, as well as connectivity and trade with Southeast Asia, China, as well as the global market. Okay. So the mandate of this organization as well as the membership is very important. Please make a note of it. We shall move to the next slide. It also focuses on strengthening the multimodal cross-border transport networks as well as the improving energy security. And the recent operational plan of 2016 to 2025 had identified economic corridor as the fourth sector where the organization can focus on. It is just a small fact about the various investments as well as the project expenditures being undertaken by this organization regarding transport, trade facilitation, ICT, energy and economic corridor sectors. Numbers are not needed, but just to have an idea, I have just included these. And it's an Asian Development Bank Finance Technical Program. Okay. And here also you can use some guesses, because which organization, which financial institution focuses on whichever regions in the world. Okay. So here the projects in Southeast Asia are mostly financed by Asian Development Bank. Okay. So we'll move to the next. Next is South Asia Cooperative Environment Program. I have included all this only for you not to get confused from various terms, because these all constitute very minor differences. So the mandate varies, the membership and other surrounding characteristics varies very minutely. So that's why I wanted to clarify these topics by just having a brief on them. Okay. So it is basically an intergovernmental organization that functions to promote and support protection, management and enhancement of the environment in the region. Okay. And here the members: SAARC, SACEP, that is a Cooperative Environment Program, and Free Trade, South Asia Free Trade Agreement, Free Trade Area, all constitute the same members. Okay, kindly make a note of it. Whereas we have a preferential trade also agreement, and there Afghanistan was not included. Except Afghanistan, all other members find their place in that agreement, and it was succeeded by the Free Trade Agreement, SAFTA, SAFTA. A minute for you guys to take a note of it. Fine. So let's move on. It supports national government's efforts for environmental protection and sustainable development. And the theme, the vision for the organization for this decade is a healthy environment, resilient society, and regional prosperity for the present and future generations. The recent declaration was Mali Declaration that talks about preventing the air pollution and combating the transboundary air pollution problem. Okay, so we'll move to the next. Yes, these were the last points of the recent meetings happened. The SASAP is also the secretariat for the South Asian Seas Program. Okay, so we'll move to the next. This next is regarding the South Asian Seas Program. Okay, it is a regional agreement among the 5 maritime countries of South Asia. And its main objective is to protect and manage the marine environment and related coastal ecosystems. Fine. And it is also part of Regional Seas Program of UN Environment. For the South Asian region, this forum is responsible for it. Okay, last slide. And where did you mention Afghan is not part of? Afghanistan was not part of the South Asian Preferential Trade Agreement. Okay. All other SAARC members excluding Afghanistan was part of SAPTA. It was succeeded by SAFTA by including Afghanistan. And to a question on will now Afghanistan remain a member, it is up to how things shape up post the change of regime. Okay, so it is up to the new government or a new formal administration of Afghanistan that has to take a call on these matters. So is previous slide okay? Last slide. Okay, fine. So we'll move to the next. Okay, Indian Ocean Commission. Again, a small topic. India has been recently approved as a member of this commission that primarily focuses on southwestern Indian Ocean to coordinate the maritime governance. Please make a note of the members: Seychelles, Comoros, Madagascar, Mauritius, and Reunion Island. And India has been recently approved in IOC. As a result, we have included France into IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association. And the 4 observers, and also whenever you come across observers, or whenever there is more number of countries to remember, don't try to remember everything. Rather, try to focus on countries that are prominently in news. Say, for example, the current geopolitical relationships as well as the international setup revolves mainly around few countries like China, United States of America as usual, our country India, and then the growing Asian countries. In European Union, Britain has gained prominence due to Brexit talks. Again, Central Asian region again was highly neglected previously, but now they are prominently gaining space due to their position, the geographical position, enabling them to become part of various connectivity programs. Okay, INSTC, Ashgabat, and various other programs that try to extract their resources as well as to make them a part of the connectivity, world connectivity projects. So Central Asian region, so try to prioritize areas where you focus. Okay, instead of remembering everything, say for if there is a list of many countries, don't try to focus on everything. Rather, limit your concentration to countries which have gained prominence in the current news events. Okay, so that could be a short way to minimize your efforts and try to revise effectively. As I had mentioned earlier, our objective is not to study everything, to know everything under the sky. No, it is not so. To know the basic things which are known to every other aspirant, and also the ability to revise and recollect what we had studied, because at the end of the day, reading everything and going and forgetting everything is of no use to us. It will not gain us anything in the examination. Rather, try to remember all the basic things that are common to all aspirants, and also try to effectively recollect the material or the content what you had gone through. Okay, that will really help you. And also, the moment you attempt a paper, please don't go with this notion of I've studied most and I'll try to recollect. No, go there with an empty mindset. Okay, there you are going to be present for the next 2 hours. So there, go with an empty mindset and be very calm to ace the paper or to attempt any question. Okay, don't go with any preconceived notion that from this part I can expect a question, from that part I can expect a question. No, it doesn't function in that way. Trust me. Rather, be ready to face questions posed to you from any areas, from any sectors, from any subjects. Be ready to do that. Use your common sense. Rely on your own general knowledge as well as common sense. That will easily help you to sail through the prelims examination. Okay. So, hope you had taken note of the content meantime. Any questions? India is a member. Okay. Manila Islands, it's a small fact. That was a tourist brand, okay, where these countries come together to promote the tourism potential of that particular region. So that's it. Fine. We shall move to the next. It was, as I had mentioned earlier, it was initiated by France, and in 2018, all the process had begun to include India into the organizations. And also a small recap, a small revision of what a new Indo-Pacific division has been created in our Ministry of External Affairs. So just a small revisit. Next is Indian Ocean Rim Association. Okay, The main objective is to strengthen the regional cooperation and sustainable development within the Indian Ocean region. It is a tripartite agreement, organization including government, business and academia. The moment tripartite comes, we should immediately try to recollect the other organization which also functions in a tripartite manner, that is International Labour Organization. Okay, when you try to study through compare and contrast, then things become easy, and even the minute differences you are able to remember, and that will come in handy while attempting the questions in the exam. All fine. So it is based on the principles of open regionalism as usual. Next, member states. That happens to be the, remembering this is quite difficult. I won't say difficult, but quite challenging. Just make a note of it. Okay, so rather to make things simple, keep it as ABC, III, India, Iran and Indonesia. And then M series, M5, then S5, and finally TTOKYU, that is Tanzania, Thailand, Oman, Kenya, Oman and UAE. Okay, our objective is to remember all the organizations, so you can do it in any way. The way which I follow is that through this ABC, I3, M5, S5 and TOKYU. So whichever is convenient to you, you can remember. And the recent one to get included is France. Previous slide, this one. Okay, Malta as a surprise observer. Not so. See, that is actually a very regionally limited organization. So Malta is of significance in that region regarding the maritime governance. So for that reason, it might be included. And you can also make a note of it, since we don't hear that name very frequently in other things. Okay, so yes, next slide. Fine. Hope you made a note of it. Indian Ocean Region Association as well as Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. Please make a list of members. Okay, both are quite similar. So yes, next slide. Okay, the apex body for this organization is the Council of Foreign Ministers, which meets annually. And in addition to that, there is a committee of senior officials to discuss the agenda of the Indian Ocean Regional Association. Okay, it's just the structure of the organization, nothing much. And the Council of Ministers on voluntary offer by member states to elect a chair of the association. In such regional organizations, they go in for voluntary, because see, they don't discuss anything that has higher impact. Rather, it is just a deliberation forum where the member states come together. They wanted to discuss what happens in that Indian Ocean region, and they wanted to act accordingly to promote mutual cooperation. So in that case, it goes by voluntary offers. Okay, in respect and in consideration of geographical aspects. Next is Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. It is initiated by Indian Navy in 2008 to increase the maritime cooperation among the navies of littoral states of Indian Ocean. Policy makers, it is not only restricted to defense personnel, but it is also open to other policy makers, civilian leaders who wanted to discuss about the maritime security in the region as well as other development aspects. So whichever organization is related or functions only on security aspects, please make a note of it. I don't think so it will be restricted only to security. The security and development aspects will go hand in hand. Okay. It deals with piracy, smuggling, illegal immigration, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. What was the last point I said in the last slide? Last slide I spoke about that is in organizations like this, which is primarily a discussion forum, the head or the structure or the organization's key post goes in rotation among the members itself on voluntary basis. So that was what I mentioned in the last slide as the last point. Fine. Moving further, the members. Okay, please make a note of these members also. And I had specifically mentioned Pakistan because it was not part of the previous organization, hence I had highlighted it. And previous organization had Madagascar, Yemen, and Somalia, which was not here. So hence I had mentioned it specifically. There are few countries that have left IONS also, and the observers include China, Japan, Germany, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Russia, Madagascar. The current chair is Iran, and for the next 2 years, the leadership would be held by France. Again, it goes on voluntary basis among them, and to list down, like as I had mentioned earlier, for that you could minimize it into BIMSP for South Asia, then IOSU for West Asia, and then comes UK, France, then comes KTMSS for Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, then AIMSTT for Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Australia, etc. So this is what I followed. So just I was writing. So whichever is convenient to you to remember them, please make a note of it. And also yesterday I had wanted to clarify one thing about the UNSC immediate re-election. As per Rule 14 of UN Charter, a UNSC non-permanent member cannot be re-elected immediately. Okay, but there is no specifically any limitations on the number of terms. But the member state completing their term cannot be re-elected immediately, owing to the geographical representation to other member states. Okay. Moving to the next, hope you had made a note of it. Forum for Indo-Pacific Island Countries Cooperation. Okay, it was developed by India in 2014 for cooperation between India and 14 Pacific Island nations. So just have a glance at it, not to note down specifically. Okay, Cook's Island, Fiji, Kiribati, Marshall's Island, Micronesia, Nauru, Niue, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Just have a glance at the island nations found in Pacific region. Okay, so it's a maritime organization initiated by India, hence I thought of including it into our preparation. Okay, again, its main function, expand India's engagement in the Pacific region. Just like how other countries are focusing on the Indian Ocean region, we too wanted to extend our friendly relationship and as well as to gather maximum support for India in the international setup. And this was one of our soft power diplomacy. Fine. Next, Biological Weapon Convention. Reason, it completes 45 years. It is the first multilateral disarmament treaty banning the development, production, and stockpiling of an entire category of weapons of mass destruction. Fine. India is a party to this treaty. Fine. Just the mandate, be clear. And what they take an allegiance is that to not to develop, produce, stockpile, otherwise acquire or retain the following types of WMD, weapons of mass destruction. Okay. And there has been an exception for prophylactic, that is the preventive, protective, and other peaceful purposes. Fine. It comes under the UN Office of Disarmament Affairs. It doesn't ban their usage. It could be used for the protective purposes, and also whenever a country comes into this treaty, ratifies this treaty, they have to destroy the existing stockpile within the time limit given there, 9 months. Fine. Since it is completing 45 years, I thought I will put this up, and also India has been a part of it. Now comes two countries in comparison: India, US, India, Saudi. Okay. It's just a short recap of the various security arrangements we had signed. Okay. First is Industrial Security Annex, which is also known as GSOMIA. Okay. What is that mandate of this agreement is that it results in exchange and protection of classified military information between US and Indian defense industries. Earlier, the private defense industries were not permitted, and that was a major hiccup when it comes to our Make in India program. So we thought it should be included, and the latest series, the Indian defense industries, that is the private ones, will also be included in this, and there will be the sharing of informations. Okay. To enable greater industry to industry collaboration for co-production and co-development in the defense sector. And the bottom I had mentioned the years in which previous agreements have been signed. Basic Exchange Cooperation Agreement has been signed recently. Other two had been signed earlier itself. Next is Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. Okay, it gives access to each other's military facilities for joint operations. Okay, it covers 4 areas, primarily port calls, a normal sea help, and next is joint exercises, training and humanitarian assistance, as well as the disaster relief. Okay, that is the Logistics Supports Agreement. And next is the Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement. Okay, which is basically facilitating the access to advanced defense system and enable India to optimally utilize its existing US origin platforms. Okay, so we already have information related apparatus being imported from US. Okay, so these could be upgraded into advanced versions, and also the existing ones could be used effectively by joining into these agreement. Okay, next was the last one, which was recently signed, Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. It is facilitating the exchange of geospatial information, and so that US could share their sensitive data, aiding the targeting and navigation within India. This is the major drawback that prevents the defense relationship between India and Russia, because there could not be interoperability between the defense equipments imported from both the countries. And it is also a trap laid to minimize the Russian imports, defense imports. Fine. So just a recap. So I'm rushing on. And Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which is being initiated by India, and US had pledged to provide its support to the organization. The other 12 founding members of CDRI are mentioned. Just have a look. It is an Indian initiative, but just have a glance at the founding members too. Australia, quite common, we can guess. Bhutan, yes, Bhutan, you can make a note of it. Bhutan, Fiji, Mexico, Mongolia, Rwanda. Others are quite common. Okay. So Bhutan, why specifically Bhutan? Not participating more in other organizations, being a part of CDRI makes it a surprising element. So you can make a note of it. But off late, when it comes to environmental agreements or disaster related events, Bhutan is focusing much. Bhutan and also Mongolia, when it comes to nuclear related aspects, nuclear materials, nuclear raw materials, Mongolia is very much interested. Okay, next, the countries in the thing, CDRI, it has been shared. So we are moving to the next. And it was the DTTI which was signed long back for technology transfers in specific projects. Okay, just a revisit. Next is an water memorandum of agreement has been signed between Jal Shakti and US administrations for technical cooperation in water resources management and water technology. Moving on, there is the Young Innovators Internship Program. If at all there is a question specifying between which two countries this has been signed, it is probably India and US, for providing support to Indian students to excel in STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In IORA, it says that it includes China. Maybe it is observer. Proceeding further, Tiger Triumph exercise. It is a joint tri-services between India and US. As we all know, India is taking its step towards forming the integrated theater commands, and for that we need practice in tri-service operations. And this exercise is majorly intended to build the tri-service operability of Indian forces by collaborating with the US Armed Forces. Okay, so the Tiger Triumph exercise is between India and US. Next is the Information Fusion Center of, it is a center basically we maintain details of the commercial vessels lying in the Indian Ocean region, and US had agreed to place its liaison officer here. So next is the Indian Ocean Pacific Initiative. These are all associated with the Indian-US relationship, hence I had mentioned it here, to focus on maritime security, sustainability using marine resources, and disaster prevention. So moving next comes the India-Saudi Arabia. Vision to 2030 is the prime aim of Saudi to minimize its dependence on oil industries and also to venture into other areas, renewable energy, construction, etc. And it has established Strategic Partnership Council with 8 countries, P5, for making it 4 except Russia. Then the remaining 4 is India, Germany, South Korea, and Japan. It deals issues like political, security, socio-cultural, economics, and investment. Okay, so India is one among that Strategic Partnership Council. Vision 2030 I had specifically mentioned because another country has a different vision with a different year. So for that one, I had mentioned it here. Tiger Triumph slide, please. Yes. It's just a tri-service operation between 2 countries, between India and US, to improve the tri-service operability. Fine. Yes, Saudi Arabia is conducting this future investment initiative, which is the Davos in the desert. Okay, it is conducted annually. It is just an economic forum to discuss about the various investment aspects and to promote their economic aspects. Okay, and associated terms, Nitakat, Kafala, since the major remittances for India has been affected due to the COVID pandemic affecting the West Asia. So I thought I should include these terms also that are specific to our India-West Asia relationships. Okay, Nitakat system to increase the job openings for Saudi nationals, to try to recruit them in more numbers. And Kafala, it is like a bonded labor agreement. A person who goes in for mostly unskilled work, when they go in Saudi Arabia, there is a master labor relationship. The particular person, the employee cannot move freely. They have a set of restrictions that is collectively termed as Kafala system. Nitakat and Kafala, it is specifically related to Saudi Arabia and their employment arrangement. Fine. So next, a small slide on Convention on Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Okay, it is an unanimously adopted convention by UN General Assembly, and it defines genocide in legal terms. Fine. Just have a glance at what is being covered under the terms. Killing members of the group, causing serious bodily, mental harm and physical destruction, imposing measures intended to prevent births, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Okay, India has ratified the treaty in 1959. Okay, so since it was news due to Myanmar, the crimes taking place in Myanmar, it has been included. Moving next, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Okay, so again this is related to all the West Asian things, as well as the abrogation of Article 370. It is related to that, as well as the citizenship agreement. Hence I thought I would be including it. It is a very small topic, just to have an idea of such an organization to exist. Okay, so it is the second largest organization, but it is quite contended because, as we all know, the non-aligned movement has higher members, but still it is more of a forum type. Okay, so maybe they don't have even a permanent secretariat, but this OIC being claimed as second largest organization was taken from their official web page, so I just included it. Okay, see, it covers members from 4 states: Asia, Africa, Europe, South America. And in Europe there is only one, Albania, and in South America there are 2, Suriname, Guyana, and transcontinental there are Egypt, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. The membership includes both Muslim majority states as well as significant Muslim population. India is not part of this organization. Okay, and the observers are basically Russia, Northern Cyprus, Thailand, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Central African Republic. Just have a glance at it. Okay, moving next. The General Secretariat comprises a Secretary General who's elected among from the nationals of member states to facilitate equitable geographical distribution. Okay, so just a small topic. Moving further, World Economic Forum. So is there any other forum that does the same work, but it is specifically restricted to the geography of Asia? Is there any other organization that you could recollect? Answers in the chat box. Similar to WEF, World Economic Forum. Any answers, guys? ADB? No. Is there any specific forum that does the same functions of World Economic Forum but limited to the Asian region? OECD, WCO, that is World Customs Organization, Asian Development, Asia, no. So we'll see that also. Okay. Primarily, World Economic Forum is to promote the public-private cooperation regarding political, business, cultural, and other aspects. Okay. It is a not-for-profit foundation which is independent, impartial, and not tied to any special interest. So they discuss about anything, okay, but their ultimate aim is to promote deliberations among various member states. It doesn't include only the government organizations, NGOs, policymakers, or significant personalities. They can take the space and they can express their views for the world development. Fine. And it demonstrates entrepreneurship and global public interest. Okay. And it has launched a new Davos Manifesto, which is a set of ethical principles to guide companies in the age of 4th Industrial Revolution. The 4th Industrial Revolution has become the main target area of World Economic Forum now. And Davos Manifesto, as we had previously seen about the Future Economic Initiative of Saudi, which is highlighted as Davos in the desert, is because of this. Okay. So these are the areas where the World Economic Forum primarily focuses. SAARC, Quad, SEO, no. they don't focus on this economic matters. Just have a look at it. Okay, mastering the fourth industrial revolution, solving the problems of the global commons, addressing the global security issues. Fine, so they do address the security issues apart from discussing the economic growth or poverty alleviation or the technological advancements, etc. Yes, this was the forum I was talking about, the BOA Forum of Asia for Asia, Asian Davos. So it has high similarity with the World Economic Forum, being headquartered in China. Okay. So from India, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries participates in this forum that primarily deals with the economic discussions and technological advancements, trade agreements, etc. It is more of a discussion forum, okay, not anything specific to the government level, but all the not-for-profit organizations and industrial chambers participate to express their views regarding the economic integration of Asia. Okay, so just make a note of it. Its headquarters in China. Fine. Next comes the non-alignment movement. I'm pretty sure everyone would be very familiar with this topic, but just to just revisit few terms, I just included it. Okay, mainly objective is to ensure the independence and neutrality of other member states which do not wanted to join the formal global powers. Okay, it is based on the 10 principles of Bandung. It was founded at Belgrade Conference under the leadership of India, Yugoslavia, Egypt, Ghana, and Indonesia. Fine. There are 3 categories: full members, observers, as well as guests. And there is a specific admission criteria for engaging into the organization, and it has 120 member states, 17 observer countries, and 10 observer organization. It is the second largest after the United Nations. However, the OIC claims itself to be the second largest organization after the United Nations. Previous slide. For people who don't have this note of 5 leaders, just make note of it. Other than that, Bandung principles, Belgrade Conference, objective of NAM is known to all. Moving further, yes, this we saw. And members have full rights and duties, while observers may participate only in the movement deliberations. Okay, most organizations follow the same principle. Okay, the full members, dominant members would be given the full rights as well as privileges, whereas the observers would be limited in their ability to participate in the organization. Okay, and the members, highest is from Africa, 53, followed by Asia, Latin America, Caribbean, Europe. And in Europe, there are only two members, Belarus and Azerbaijan. Okay, numbers are not needed, but just have an idea of which continent has higher representation at NAM. And also, there is one contention here. It is mentioned in Central Asian republics, only Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan are members. While searching for this particular information, we had verified many sources, but from the official documents of Ministry of External Affairs, this is what is mentioned. But whereas few other documents of other countries as mentioning that all the 5 Central Asian republics are part of NAM. But for us, the official document of our Ministry of External Affairs could only be referred. So in that document, only this information could be found. Okay. So observers, again, nothing much significant. Just have a glance of the country, and if it is found to be peculiar, then just make a note of it. Okay, so that's it. And there is one small organization called World Peace Council, which we would be seeing in the next slide. Fine, so we shall move next. The membership criteria, just to revisit, okay, it is based on the coexistence of states to support national independent movements. It should not be a member of multilateral military alliance, and if the country has a bilateral military agreement with a great power, it is not being concluded, and it has not granted any military bases to the foreign powers. Fine. So these are the membership criteria for the non-alignment membership, and also the 10 principles since we had seen all, I thought I would revisit this principles also. Okay, so regarding international organizations, most are dynamic. Okay, most of the subject areas are dynamic, but if in case like few static areas that as such informations is important when it comes to NAM or any nuclear related agreements, etc. Fine. So the 10 principles again: fundamental human rights, sovereignty and territorial integrity, equality, non-intervention, right of every nation, non-use of collective defense pacts against each other, refraining from carrying out aggression or threatening their existence basically, peaceful solution to international disputes, promote cooperation and respect of justice and international obligations. So Article 51, most of the provisions of Article 51 could be found here. So just a basic principles. Okay, just have a look at it. We shall move to the next. World Peace Council, as I had mentioned earlier, it is an NGO member of the United Nations, which is the largest international peace structure. Okay, it is against imperialism, democratic. It is democratic, independent, and non-aligned international movement. India as a member. So just have an idea of such organizations. Moving next, Narcotics Control Bureau. Okay. So the basic security threats that India is increasingly witnessing nowadays are the drug-related threats, infusions of illegal migrants, as well as the incursions of Chinese military agents. That is the incursion of Chinese military. So these three are the fundamental problems that we face, and with the changes occurring in the neighborhood, it is expected to increase in higher quantum. So Narcotics Control Bureau, India has been re-elected, okay, for a 5-year term starting from 2020 to 2025. And it is an independent quasi-judicial monitoring body for the implementation of UN conventions. Okay. So the conventions which results in functioning of INCB are Single Convention of Narcotic Drugs, Convention of Psychotropic Substances, United Nations Convention against the illicit traffic in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. Okay, the PPT would be shared, so no issues. Yes, IS recruitment is also a major threat. It monitors government's control over chemicals used in the illicit manufacture of drugs also. Okay, so moving next. Next slides are regarding the operation function of the body. It is elected by the Economic and Social Council for a period of 5 years. Okay, 10 of the members are elected from persons nominated by the home governments, while the remaining 3 are the technical resource personnel offered by the nominated by the World Health Organization. Okay, so proceeding next, Human Rights Council. Okay, regarding this, we have similar bodies which are quite confusing. That is the United Nations Human Rights Council, then the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, then the Human Rights Agent, refugees. So I thought we shall study the differences between these. Earlier also, as I had mentioned, please note down the differences between International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, and Permanent Court of Arbitration. You may ask why, if these are not found in the newspapers, like why it is an essential to go through this topic, but it is always to be on a safer side to know the fundamental differences. Of course, UPSC is not going to ask in detail about these organizations. It is not going to happen for sure, but at least the shallow level differences you should know, right? Okay. See, for example, International Court of Justice does not take action on individual genocide crimes, whereas International Criminal Court does that. Okay, so such basic differences at shallow level is enough so that you will be able to comfortably answer the questions even if it is not in your comfort zone. Okay, so for that, try to gather that fundamental knowledge. That much is enough. Okay, now Human Rights Council, it is an intergovernmental body within the United Nations system to promote the, for strengthening the promotion and protection of human rights. It earlier was presided by the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, which was later renamed into United Nations Human Rights Council. And the recent recommendation or the requirement of UN reforms, they wanted to replace Trusteeship Council with the United Nations Human Rights Council, because the decolonization process is over and Trusteeship Council no longer maintains the same power, or maintains the same objective for which it has been created. So there has been a demand to replace it with the United Nations Human Rights Council with growing violations against the human rights. Okay, again, it is elected, it is made up of 47 members, and majority are elected by the general they are elected by the majority of General Assembly through direct and secret ballot. And this is just a small fact that this is the majority of the member states had performed at the top of this organization. Just a small fact. Numbers are not needed, but just keep an idea that majority of them had served there. Again, the membership is based on equitable geographical distribution. Each region will have its own members, and from that particular region, the members will be taking their place into the organization. African states, Asia Pacific states, Latin America, Western Europe, Eastern Europe. And here, the members are elected for a term of 3 years, and they are not eligible for immediate re-elections. Okay, the term in the council ends in, India's term ends in 2021. Okay, this is the same process or the special arrangements associated with Human Rights Council. Okay, periodic reviews. It is a forum for dialogue among the states regarding the human right aspects. Moving further, the Universal Periodic Review is an aspect of this council. Okay, so this council, the difference between this organization and the organization that is going to come up next is that basically it is a policy making forum. Okay, whenever there is a human rights violation, instead of General Assembly doing the entire discussions, it has been restricted to this particular council, which discusses, which deliberates the threats to human rights and what has to be done. Okay, the policy level work will be done by this organization, and then next it proceeds to the execution by the next organization. Still there is a slide. It works in regular sessions and special sessions. Okay, so that's it. As I had mentioned earlier, UNHRC is like a discussion forum. Okay, whereas the HCR, the Office of High Commission for Human Rights, is like an organization executing the task associated with protecting the human rights. Okay, the special sessions and general sessions, the special sessions could be conducted if in case there is a significant human right violation taking place in the world, and the 1/3 of the members support for constituting a special session to discuss the event. Okay, that's an exception, so I thought of mentioning it. Next is this. It is different from UNHRC, as we had seen earlier, and they had also filed a petition to be included into the Citizenship Act that is being questioned in our Supreme Court. The Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, it is a leading UN entity on human rights, okay, to promote and protect the human rights of all people, which is headed by an High Commissioner. The High Commissioner is appointed by the Secretary General of United Nations and approved by the General Assembly. Again, there is not like they do a separate election, whereas based on geographical rotation, the Secretary General takes up the candidate and ensures that every member state happens to get their due share in the Human Rights Council. The Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. It provides assistance, technical expertise, and capacity development. Okay. and it is a part of UN Secretariat. Earlier, the Human Rights Council was a separate, though it is under UN, it has higher powers than the office of OHCR. Okay. The chief functions to prevent human rights violation, promote respect for human rights, encourage international cooperation, and coordinate the activities associated with human rights protection. See, I mentioned yesterday itself, there were few organizations, to my surprise, that had received majority of their funding from voluntary contributions, and this organization is of that type. Almost 2/3 of the funding comes from voluntary contributions. The rest is covered by the general budget of UN. Okay. Next, United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Okay, last we saw Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, and this one is High Commission for Refugees. The first Global Refugee Forum took place in 2019 to demonstrate leadership, vision, and ambition regarding the responsibility for refugees. Okay, it is also known as UN Refugee Agency, and important things associated with is the 1951 Refugee Convention as well as the 1967 Protocol. Okay, but India has not ratified both the agreements. Basically, these conventions define the term refugee and outlines the right of the displaced as well as the legal obligations of states to protect them. Okay, so the reason for our country to not be part of this convention is that there are legal obligations. As I had mentioned earlier, any country will not like to reduce its sovereignty or limit itself. Okay, so being part of such convention makes an obligation to protect the refugees, giving them their basic rights, which is not possible because the higher population of our country first has to be satisfied, and then only we can lend a helping hand to the refugees. We are already doing that, okay, but we do not want to be it a mandatory obligation. Okay, so that's why India is not part of this convention as well as the protocol. Fine. It is governed by the General Assembly as well as the Economic and Social Council, and the High Commissioner is appointed by the General Assembly. Earlier it was created to manage the refugee problem, but since it getting prolonged, the mandate also has been extended till the refugees problem has been solved successfully. Okay. The High Commissioner was elected by the General Assembly for a 5-year term until 2021, and now he has been re-elected for the next 5 years. Okay, again, this entirely the funding depends on voluntary contributions. Okay, and this receives subsidy from UN regular budget. Yes. Proceeding next. Nansen Refugee Award comes under United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Okay, to individuals, groups, and organizations. And it also has released a framework that provides a blueprint for governments, international organizations to ensure that host communities get their support and refugees can lead productive lives. And the name of the framework is Global Compact on Refugees. Also focus on the initiatives taken at global level to safeguard the rights of migrants, okay, legal migrants. Fine. So because the recent pandemic that has posed the greater threat to migrants, there are initiatives within our country as well as at the global level to protect their rights. Fine. So proceeding next. Relief and Welfare Agency, Works Agency for Palestine Refugees. Okay, a small one, but just have an idea. Okay, it was established by UN General Assembly resolution, and the mandate has been extended up to 2023. It is a kind of task-specific executive body under the supervision of UN General Assembly to provide relief to the Palestine people. funded almost entirely by voluntary contributions from UN member states, and receives some funding from the regular budget. Okay. So all this, the relief agencies, the migration agency, the High Commission for Human Rights, Human Rights Council, all we would have studied in various parts, but we would have forgot to club them together because they are most confusing. Okay. The moment you club them together and start revising, it makes things simple and also prevent you from making minor mistakes. Fine. So again, it has a few set of strategic objectives, outcomes, and first is refugee rights, refugees' health, their education, livelihood opportunities, as well as basic human needs of food, shelter, and environmental health. Common to all. So just have a glance at it. Rights, health, education, livelihood, human needs, basic needs. Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay. Again, most would be aware with this, but still a small revisit to the area. It's a permanent intergovernmental international organization that began with China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Okay, India and Pakistan joined in 2017. The main objective is to cooperate politically, trade, economic, research, technology, as well as culture, in order to maintain and ensure peace, security, and stability. So it deals with environmental, security, political, cultural. So everything is being covered. Okay. So proceeding next. Please make a note of it. Okay. So RIC, Russia, India, China, Pakistan, and in the Central Asian, all four are there except Turkmenistan. The reason for Turkmenistan not being part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization is that it follows the principle of permanent neutrality, okay, by which it has expressed its desire not to be part of any military arrangements, defense arrangements, as a result of which from 1950s itself it has been following the principle of permanent neutrality. Hence it hasn't joined the SCO. Okay, the observers: Afghanistan, Belarus, Iran, and Mongolia, and it also has 6 dialogue partners: Azerbaijan, Armenia, Cambodia, Nepal, Turkey, and Sri Lanka. Okay, Azerbaijan, Armenia are closer by, okay, the Central Asian region, so that is of not much significance. Whereas Cambodia, Turkey also is related to them, so leave it aside. Nepal and Sri Lanka from India. Okay, so probably China would like to include these into the organization too, in order to extend its support to them technically. Okay, so the odd one out would be Cambodia. Fine. Also have an idea of where the focus of major countries lies. Major countries: USA. Of course, USA is taking a second stage now, but the first stage is being taken by China. So through every means, China wants to extend its control over all other organizations likely. Okay, so Nepal and Sri Lanka might be included into it because of these reasons. Permanent for SCO is that it is not any temporary arrangement. The organization is going to stay for the region. Okay, so that is what specifically designated as permanent in their official website. Fine. So proceeding next, hope you had made a note of it. The heads of the State Council is the supreme decision making body. Yes, it meets once a year to discuss the organization's multilateral cooperation strategy and priority areas. The official languages are Russian and Chinese. The official languages of UN, of course, from the languages of the permanent 5 members of UNSC, the UN official languages could be guessed. But apart from that, the odd ones out were Spanish and Arabic. Okay, because UN has 6 official languages: English, French, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, and Arabic. The other 4 languages could be related to the languages of the permanent 5 members, but whereas Spanish and Arabic is quite peculiar. For SCO, it is Russian and Chinese. Proceeding further. Okay, so it is the organizational setup. Okay, and it has two permanent bodies, SEO Secretariat and Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure. Earlier there was a question, to which organization does RATS belong to? The answer is SEO. The Secretary General is appointed by the Council of Heads of State for a term of 3 years. Sorry, this one. Yes. The Heads of the State Council is the organization that involves the participation by Prime Minister, and the Heads of the Council, Government Council, is by the Defense Minister. Okay, just the organizational setup. Nothing unique here. So just moving on. Okay. And there is also a quota of number of the civil servants would be functioning in SCO. Each member state will have their respective quotas, and from there, these civil servants would be drawn to function, to work in the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement organization. And here, as I had mentioned earlier, it is used based on, it is based on the Russian alphabetical order. The Secretary General post is chosen among the citizens of SCO member states in Russian alphabetical order. In UNSC, we saw English alphabetical order. So there I had mentioned this. Moving next, International Organization of Migration. To aid orderly and humane migration for the benefit of human race, headquartered at Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, just have a glance at the observers. Nothing significant. Moving next. The objective, from the name it suggests, is to organize transfer of migrants, including refugees, displaced persons and other individuals forced to leave their homelands. It has a council, executive committee and a secretariat. And out of 174, the 3 home governments would nominate their representatives who would be chosen to the post of Director General. Voting again must receive 2/3 of voting, and it meets twice a year and it's elected annually. Since the COVID pandemic has led to devastating impact on the life of migrants, I had included the International Organization for Migration. Proceeding next. The Selective Migration Program comes under IOM, being initiated in 1965 to facilitate the transfer of technology from Europe to Latin America through the migration of highly qualified individuals. Okay, it also participates in its efforts to address the brain drain. And the broad areas of migration where IOM works are forced migration, migration and development, facilitating migration, and regulating the event of migration. Moving next, it is a permanent observer of United Nations General Assembly. Okay, and one declaration associated is New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants. Fine. So please remember this declaration. And also the conventions and declarations which happen to be same, New York Declaration, New York Conventions. So please make a note of it separately so that you don't get confused in the real time. India was granted an observer status initially and later became a member state. Okay. The reason for specifying these points is that India is not a founding member. So that is what should immediately be coming to your mind. Hence, I had mentioned it separately to be given observer status first, followed by the full membership. Okay. And the last one is about a cooperation between the IOM and the Ministry of External Affairs for establishing a overseas workers resource center to provide their basic rights and services to the overseas Indian employees. Fine. The small fact. Next comes NATO. Complete 70 years. Okay, it's completely a political. And can an organization, a question here, can an organization itself be an observer of another organization? Definitely in United Nations we have organizations that happen to be observers. Okay, so see, basically such organizations will become observers when they wanted to express their views in that particular domain. Okay, in that case, the memberships are allowed. So that is common. NATO, again, make note of only the peculiar things you find. Okay, so we all know that it is a political and military alliance to grant freedom and security in the North Atlantic area. It contains countries from Europe and North America. Okay, promotes democratic values. We know the peaceful resolution of disputes come under the military terms of NATO. And political, it wanted to promote the values of democracy. It follows the principle of collective defense covered by the Washington Treaty. The last point is very important. So far, Article 5, that is the principle of collective defense, has been invoked only once during the 9/11 attacks on USA in 2001. So NATO, the reason for gaining prominent now is because of the change that has happened in Afghanistan. So thought of including it. Okay, it is open to any other European state in a position to further the principles of this treaty. Okay, in North Atlantic, the major countries, Canada, USA are covered. Okay, so now it is open to any other European states. Also, non-member countries work with NATO, but as I had mentioned earlier, they would not have the full privileges that member states enjoy. Okay, they do not have the same decision-making authority. It is headquartered in Brussels. The core task, collective defense, crisis management, that is humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, as well as cooperative security. It is basically a consensus-based body, and the main decision-making body is the North Atlantic Council. Okay, and it also has a nuclear planning group that takes decisions regarding the nuclear policy issues. NATO has a very few permanent forces of its own. It is majorly a voluntary forces being given by the member states of NATO. Okay, so this one you can make a note of it. Fine. The current operations are in Afghanistan, Kosovo, securing the Mediterranean, supporting the African Union. Not a member, the Sweden, Finland, Austria, Herzegovina. Okay, because it would be difficult to know the members of, I mean, European members part of NATO, but it will be easy to remember who are not the members of NATO. So hence I had mentioned. And also there are few countries that was latest to join in 2019. It was North Macedonia. Okay, so NATO is not directly related to India, but still the changes that is going on in Afghanistan and withdrawal of US forces, I thought NATO should also be given some importance since it has been included in our discussion. Fine, moving further. Interpol. Okay, various colored notices are being issued against Indian nationals for various crimes that are being committed. So Interpol should also be one prime area. It is basically an international police association. Okay, in our country, the CBI is the national coordinating body that interacts with Interpol. It is basically the security forces come together, share intelligence, share threats, so that they collectively enforce the global security. Okay, this is an intergovernmental organization governed by the General Assembly, that is their General Assembly. Okay, and the National Central Bureau, every country has that NCB, and in India, the Central Bureau of Intelligence is the National Bureau of Interpol. Okay, so the president is elected by the General Assembly for a period of 4 years, and the main functions are to preside at their meetings, to discuss on this global security threats, and also to effectively coordinate the functions of the Interpol. It is a part-time and unpaid work. Okay, so mostly it won't be going in for elections. So whoever takes up it voluntarily, and that is mostly on voluntary preferences, the member states or the members would come forward to be elected to the president. Fine. So moving further, these are the core areas that they deal with: counter-terrorism, organized and emerging crime, cyber crime. Just have a look at it. Guys, moving next. Two main sources of funding, statutory, voluntary. Okay. And each member country pays a statutory contribution, which is an obligatory payment. And most of the voluntary funding comes from government agencies, notably responsible for policing. Okay, next is UN Habitat. Again, a small topic that deals with which is an agency for human settlements. Okay, the main objective, which is being mandated by General Assembly, is to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities with the goal of providing adequate shelter for all. Okay, so also please have a try to remember the sustainable development goals, all the 17 goals. Okay, no need to know their targets in general, but please have an idea of the 17 goals. It could be questioned based on the numbers also. Previous slide is basically the funding of Interpol. Okay, so there is a mandatory funding from member states and also the voluntary part. So that's it. Moving further. Okay, and this one want to be important, the UN Habitat Strategic Plan for 2020 to 2023 to adopt a more integrated approach to solve the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century cities and other human settlements. Fine. And it is the organizational structure, it is a 3-tier 1. Okay, and it has been named as UN Habitat. Previously, there was a governing council to the United Nations Human Settlements Program. Okay, the Habitat Assembly meets every 4 years and it is composed of 193 member states of the United Nations. Okay, again it is an executive, the part of organization, okay, which comprises of an executive board that does the executive part of the decisions being taken by the UN Habitat Assembly. Okay, in addition to that, we also have a committee of permanent representatives to carry forward the execution of the decisions. And these are more important. This is the recent publications released by UN Habitat, the State of World Cities, Global Report on Human Settlements, New Urban Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals and Urban Local Bodies, the future we want. And the nodal agency for interaction in India is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Okay, just make a note of the reports. Status of World Cities, Global Report on Human Settlements, New Urban Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals and Urban Local Bodies, the future we want. Okay, moving next. Sorry guys, we are actually falling short of time, so we have to complete some more slides, hence I'm rushing. Excuse me for that. World Customs Organization, as I had mentioned earlier, there is World Trade Organization, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and next comes the World Customs Organization. Okay, it is an independent intergovernmental body to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of customs administration. Okay, they maintain the international standards to be adopted by all other countries when it comes to carrying out the exchange of goods. Okay, it provides technical, logistical and professional support. The significant initiative of World Customs Organization is the HS nomenclature. Two things you have to remember. One is this HS nomenclature. Next is an independent intergovernmental body. Okay, the HS is the harmonized system. Okay, it is simply a global standard used worldwide for description of goods. Fine, it is a numerical setup that will be adopted for each goods by all countries. Okay, that remains universal because every country, the goods does not pass directly to the destination. Okay, they are subjected to checks at various countries. So in that case, those countries will definitely carry out their inspection, but in order to minimize the time taken for this, they have come up with a global standard, that is the harmonized systems nomenclature, which will help them to recognize the goods easier and also to proceed the time, to reduce the time taken for finishing the customs steps, procedures. Okay, see, this is an example. Okay, for example, if pineapple is a good that has to be exported, and they follow this numerical setup, okay, so that because the languages are not common everywhere, whereas the numbers could be used so that the goods are recognized easily and the customs process could be reduced, thereby reducing the travel time. Fine. Proceeding next. It is used extensively by governments, international organizations, private sector for taxation, trade, as well as other policies. And this one very important, revised Kyoto Convention. Okay, that is the blueprint given by the World Customs Organization for efficient customs procedure. Fine. Kyoto Convention, it deals with other environmental aspects also. So please make a note of this, revised Kyoto Convention. Next few topics will be quite interesting because these are the recent ones, okay, and quite technical too, so that's why. Instex mechanism, again formulated for the benefit of Iran to continue the trade relationship without attracting the sanctions of USA. Instex mechanism is basically the barter system being developed by European countries to facilitate non-US dollars transactions. The founding members are France, Germany, and UK. Just remember, Instex being developed by European countries to facilitate non-US dollars transaction in order to benefit Iran. This is how the function works. Okay, just a small thing where Iran exports its oil at the same time imports goods from other countries. So it's just like a barter. Okay, just have a look at it. Okay, the oil gets exported, but the money doesn't share because the Iranian importer who has to pay the money to France or any other countries from where they are importing the capital goods will be paying to the Iranian government. So the money doesn't leave the borders, but the goods get interchanged. Okay. In this way, they can prevent the attraction of USA sanctions. Just like the Avala transaction. Okay, Instex is a barter system for the benefit of Iran. Proceeding next. October Revolution. Okay. So these terms, because the major changes, the major events are taking place in West Asia. So these terms are quite potential to be questioned in our examination, hence I had included it. It is basically a revolution of Iraq, okay, that started in 2019 to protest 16 years of corruption, unemployment, and inefficient public services. Okay. And the system Muhasasa, which is on a specific system used to appoint the government servants in Iraq. Okay, just the peculiar terms I have put, but please make a note that Tishreen Revolution, which is also known as October Revolution, is associated with the Iraq. Proceeding next, Blue Dot Network. Again, you will be familiar with this. USA, Japan, Australia. It is primarily a counter initiative to Belt and Road Initiative. Okay. So here, once the Blue Dot Network countries permit the particular or approve a particular infrastructure project. Previous slide. Yes. Tishreen Revolution. Fine. Okay. Proceeding next. So once an infrastructure project gets approved by this network of countries, then it will attract the private financing. Okay. It will attract financing from private players too. In Belt and Road Initiative, it is solely the contribution of China. Okay, the government contributions. But here, Blue Dot Network is like a approval mechanism, accreditation mechanism that proves or that approves the credibility of a particular project, later it attracts investment from private players. Okay. So G20 principles of quality infrastructure investment. Okay, it is an alternate to predatory lending and debt trap diplomacy of China. Fine. Next is International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. Okay. It runs laboratories, and in India too we have a lab, and the main objective is to play a key role in biotechnology worldwide for excellence in research, training and technology transfers. The reason is the recent genetic engineering progress as well as the development of vaccines made me to choose this topic also. A short one. Okay, it is being governed by a board of governors, and the main focus areas are biomedicine, crop improvement, environmental protection or remediation with respect to manipulating the environmentally friendly microorganisms, and then next the biopharmaceuticals, biopesticide, biofuel productions. Okay, so these are the normal things which you will find in any organization, so I am not focusing much. Proceeding next, the Director General of U1 IDO, which is a specialized agency of U1, is the ex officio member of the board. Okay, and others to participate, that is the resource personnel and other organizations like IAEA participates as observers in its deliberations. As I had mentioned earlier, there was a question too whether other regional organization could become an observer in a new organization. See, we have an example. International Atomic Agency participates as an observer. Whenever the areas of operation coincide, then organizations take part as observer to share their views or provide technical expertise. Fine. Commonwealth again, it is one static topic, so I thought we shall revisit it. Okay, earlier it was mostly limited to the colonial countries of Britain, but now it has been extended to other countries also. Other countries also can become a members of Commonwealth. Okay, it is a voluntary association of 54 independent equal countries: Africa, Asia, America and Europe. And next is all members have an equal say regardless of size or wealth, and it includes both advanced economies and developing countries. Okay, any country can join the modern Commonwealth, and last was in 2009 by Rwanda. Previous slide, Commonwealth, this one. Okay, so proceeding next. It has Commonwealth Secretariat, which happens to be the organizational body of the Commonwealth, Commonwealth Foundation, Commonwealth of Learning. Okay, so next is the International Classification of Diseases. Due to the COVID, the initiatives of WHO and the changes in the global health setup has to be revised, and ICD is one among them, which contains a unique codes for injuries, diseases and cause of death. Similarly, just like the harmonized system nomenclature used for goods, this is a classification of diseases, a code used for injuries, death worldwide. Okay, it is a standard one. And the recent changes were accepted by the World Health Assembly, and there are two changes. That is, 2 new chapters has been introduced in traditional medicine as well as the topics of sexual health. Okay, these are the 2 changes that is being brought up by the new international classification of diseases. Only this is important to note down. And next, World Organization of Animal Health, with rising zoonotic diseases. Please have a focus on this organization too. Okay, it has a total of 192 member countries, which is an intergovernmental body. Okay, responsible for improving animal health worldwide. Okay, it includes or it works with international as well as regional organizations. Fine, the financial resources are from compulsory annual contributions as well as the voluntary contributions for member states. It has been recognized by World Trade Organization as a standard for dealing with trade in animal related goods. Okay, the main functions of the assembly, that is the World Assembly of Delegates, which is the highest authority of the organization, is to adopt international standards, resolutions on the control of the major diseases, and elect the members of the government bodies. See, organization for animal health is basically dealing with the health of animals when it comes to any diseases or the procedures to be followed to tackle the spread of diseases. Okay, it is also a technical body. Fine. So just have an idea of the existence of such an organization. Okay, the rest is just the organizational setup. I think we can skip this. Okay. Yes, the standards or the commissions of this organization deals with the terrestrial animal health standards, scientific commission for animal diseases, and biological standard commission, aquatic animal health standards commission. Okay, so just these are the subsidiary commissions of OIE. Fine. And International Council of Arbitration for Sport. Okay, Tokyo 2021 Olympics, and also please prepare on the International Olympic Committee too. Okay, how the body, how it functions, what are the differences, okay, between Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, why it is specifically done in that manner, and how the host countries are selected, and also what are the new games that are included. Okay, owing to time constraints, I haven't included the topic, so please have your own preparation in that field also. Fine. So International Council of Arbitration for Sport is basically to ensure that the sports events are conducted in a proper manner and the players do not indulge in malpractices in order to win a sport. Okay. So it is not a UN body. That much is enough. Okay. And its main function is to facilitate the resolution of sports related disputes. It has three bodies, that is the Ordinary Arbitration Division, a specific one for doping events, anti-doping division, and an appeals division. Fine. So the international sports organizations like IOC, International Olympic Committee, Olympics Federations, International Testing Agency, and World Anti-Doping Board has given sufficient powers to this body to take forward the sport related disputes. Okay. What kind of dispute? Anything that is linked to sports. Who can file? Any individual legal entity, let it be a country. When can the body intervene? That is the arbitration body intervene. The parties must agree to this writing. Okay. So whenever there is an accusation that particular player has not followed the principles or had indulged in any malpractice like doping, then there will be, the accusation would be forwarded to the body, and the involved parties has to respond and agree in writing to carry forward the settlement further. Okay, so moving further, fine, India as a signatory, and we have a New York Convention that is also related to this organization. Okay, next is African Union. Okay, just since this body is not frequently in news, just have an idea that it is constituting all 55 member states of Africa, and it functions for prosperous and a peaceful Africa. That's it. Okay, the rest are the minor things only. Okay, so just I'm skipping for this moment. Yes, it intended to create its own continental financial institutions. Okay, see, basically this organization function to bring together all the African member states in order to improve the economic aspects as well as to maintain stability, security in the region. So that's it. Yes, this was what I had mentioned. Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia regarding reducing its dependence on oil sector, whereas this one is for Agenda 2063 regarding the African Union. Okay, so for that only I had mentioned this as well as the Vision 2030, because these could be linked very closely and we can have a confusion there. Hence, I thought of clarifying it. Next is Mekong Ganga cooperation. Okay, basically between 6 countries, India and 5 Asian countries, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. for cooperation in tourism, culture, education, as well as transport and communications. Okay, so that is Mekong Ganga. And now the mandates part. Okay, so we shall run through it fast. Fine. So the mandates: India, Brazil, South Africa Forum for political and economic governance. Coordination on global and regional political issues such as reform of global institutions, political and economic governance, as well as the WTO related climate change, as well as terrorism. So please make a note of it, okay? Just in your short notes, IBSA, and what is the areas, the themes that these organization functions. It's political, environmental, economic. Okay, that is IBSA for you, India, Brazil, South Africa. Next is BRICS. Again, it is all a short revision of the mandates only. I will put it specifically. Fine. For mutually beneficial, it strives for mutual beneficial, sustainable and equitable development among the 5 countries. Again, it's a political entity. Okay. And also discusses on economic as well as other security issues. Fine, proceeding. Next is World Bank. Objective is to end extreme poverty, promote shared prosperity. It provides financial and technical assistance to developing countries. Again, it deals with 2 things. One is providing financial products and services, and also innovative knowledge sharing. You would have seen World Bank involving in major environmental areas and also technical areas in some cases. All that comes under this branch of World Bank. Okay, it also focuses on providing innovative knowledges to the problems faced by the world that restricts their development. Fine. So previous slide. Yes. Sorry for rushing up, guys, because we need to have a review on the previous year questions also. So that's why. Kindly excuse me for that. I'm assuming that you all will be aware of such mandates. So whatever is possible to be made in a short note, please make a note of it. Fine. Moving next. Financial products and services, as well as innovative knowledge sharing. Shall we move to the next? Innovative knowledge sharing. G20. Again, it is the leaders of the largest economy, but please make a note of the members also. Okay. I'll give a minute for you to copy it. G7 plus P5. P5 is the permanent 5 of UNSC. Why 2? Because the remaining 3 would be repeated in G7. And next it will be followed by BRICS. And of BRICS, there will be 3 members. Why? Because the remaining 3 would be covered in the previous organization. Next, out of fragile 5, 2 would be included because the other 3 are already covered. Okay. And the remaining members are Mexico, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Australia. EU is already there. So nothing to remember. So whenever the organization has more members, please club them together. That help you to remember easily, and just remember the leftover members. Okay, so hope you made a note of it. Can we move to the next? Can we move to the next slide, guys? Okay, guys. Going forward, common risk mitigation mechanism, part of International Solar Alliance. It has been taken up by the World Bank. The objective is de-risking and reducing the financial cost of solar projects. Okay, So just the terms, okay, because we have DCR, domestic content requirement, that was in the paper. So the terms associated with Indian initiatives, so I included it also. The common risk mitigation mechanisms. Next is the Council of Europe Cybercrime Convention, that is the Budapest Convention, which is the only binding international instrument that addresses internet and computer crime. Significant point to notice, India is not a member because it wasn't invited into the drafting stage. So remember Budapest Convention, the objective of the convention is to target internet and computer crimes, and also India is not a member. Okay, Global Trade Alert Project. Just a minute. Okay. Global Trade Alert Project. In the recent pandemic, when manufacturers are increasing their prices arbitrarily, this project has come into the picture. Okay, to monitor policies that affect the world trade. Okay, it was earlier also, it was launched in 2009 itself, but now it has taken prominence again. So the partner organizations, Center for International Governance Innovation, this is a think tank, along with Center for Economic Policy Research based in UK, and International Development Research Center, as well as the World Bank. Okay. So a recent report being published is what mentioned here. So it is the exports at risk from non-tariff measures, the experience of Commonwealth countries. See, reports released by normal organizations like World Bank, IMF, please, there is no other go but to remember those reports. Other than that, the organizations, the peculiar ones like this, would mostly have complicated titles like this, okay? Because global economic outlook or global economic prospects, all this could be easily remembered. But whenever such complicated titles come, just try to remember the mandate or what is the theme of that report. So that much is enough. Okay. Moving further. Yes, this could be skipped. Fine. And it also has in New Delhi also we have a regional office for this Global Trade Alert project. Okay. So having discussed the mandate, going further, Global Vaccine Alliance, again it's a revision only. We all know that the main objective is not to leave anyone without immunization. Okay, the partner countries, WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, BMGF, that is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and also the other countries. Fine. So just have a glance at it. Okay. I assume that these are also familiar topics to you because the recent past we would have been familiar with all the organizations associated with COVID. So let's proceed further. This could be skipped. Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. Again, India is a founding member of this to develop vaccines to stop future epidemics. It was not launched recently. It was launched way back in 2017. Okay. Founded by the governments of Norway and India. Fine. The next part, it discusses about the funding aspects of the body as well as the voting part. Okay. It has 12 voting members, 4 investors, 8 independent members. The numbers are not needed, but still the investors are also part of the voting body. Okay, the next is also this part also is too technical that deals with the organizational setup, but just know the mandate and India is a founding member. Okay, and Norway is a partner country in this initiative. Okay, Open Skies Treaty, this one is quite important. Okay, the main objective of this is to carry out unarmed aerial surveillance. Okay, it is a part of confidence building measure. Okay, in political science we come across this term of confidence building measure because two countries will never be able to trust each other when, especially to neighboring countries. So in order to avert that doubt between them, they go in for such confidence building measures of allowing the neighboring countries to go for unarmed aerial surveillance. Okay, US has recently announced to exit this treaty. Okay, it is being governed by the Open Skies Consultative Commission, consisting of representations from 34 state parties. Okay, and you can easily guess, will India be part of this treaty or not? Definitely not. Okay, anything that poses a threat to our security and sovereignty will not be accepted for sure. The commission consists of 57 members from North America, Central Asia, and Europe. Fine. As I mentioned earlier, the treaty establishes a regime of unarmed aerial observation flights, because when they go in for random checks, the confidence would be built to ensure that other country is not in an offensive mode to target the neighboring countries. Fine. The main functions of the commission, that is the Open Skies Consultation Commission, is to ensure compliance with the treaty, resolve ambiguities, and decide on applications for accession, that is the inclusion of new members, and also to review the distribution of flight quotas, because the respective member countries should not decide the number of flights, rather the commission will decide the number of aerial surveillance to be carried out by the member countries. Fine. So next, it is a decision by consensus. Fine. So this one would be little useful, I guess, the miscellaneous facts. Okay, so we are coming to the last part of our session. So please be ready to write little, because these are quite useful. Okay, Operation Insaniyat, if you know, then don't make a note of it. Okay, just have a glance and then we'll proceed. Okay, the Operation Insaniyat, which is the humanitarian aid to Bangladesh. Okay, I haven't included everything, but if there is any other recent operations with respect to Madagascar, with respect to sending the COVID response teams, so make note of it also. Okay, just the old ones as a type of revision, I am just including it because I am assuming that you will be familiar with the latest ones. Okay, Protocol on Inland Water Transit and Trade Agreement in 2015 was signed between India and Bangladesh. Okay, to use their waterways for commerce and also permit the third countries. Okay, so this we had seen earlier also. SAFTA, the difference between free trade and preferential trade. Okay, which doesn't include Afghanistan. And the recent assassination, the so-called assassination of ISIS chief, Operation Kayla Mueller, and Trans-Himalayan Multidimensional Connectivity Network between Nepal and China. Okay. And a new passage to India program to increase the number of Indian students studying in Germany, between India and Germany. There was a technical intern program between India and US, and this is a new passage program to increase the quota of Indian students. And now watch and look out for the differences. See how complicated they are, how close they are. Global Climate Risk Index, Climate Change Performance Index by German Watch. Whereas see World Economic Outlook by IMF, Energy Outlook as well as Indian Energy Outlook by IEA, Indian International Energy Agency. Environmental Outlook by Environment Program. Biodiversity Outlook by Convention on Biological Diversity. Asian Development Outlook by ADB. Global Economic Prospects by World Bank. Okay, so these are quite confusing. At that moment, we will be already in a tensed manner. So there is higher possibility for us to make mistakes there. So please make a note of it. Okay. Again, Taiwan, as we had mentioned earlier also, it is not a member of UN, whereas WHO has permitted it. I mean, it is not a member of UN and WHO, but it's a member of WTO. Okay. One country, two system, that talks about the relationship between China, Hong Kong as well as Macau. So next is the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. Again, these were the underlined ones are the previous agreements associated with Israel-Palestine. Sykes-Picot Agreement, Balfour Declaration, Camp David Accord, Oslo Accord. And the latest one was Arab Accord, though that doesn't take Palestine into the picture. It deals with normalization of relationship between Israel, UAE and other Arab nations. Okay. Please make a note of the countries that have acceded into the Arab Accord. Next is two nation theory. See the difference? Quite close. One country, two system, two state solution, two nation theory. So that is why I had included it. Toman is the new currency of Iran. Just a short fact. And World Competitive Index is by Institute for Management, whereas the Global Competitive Index is by World Economic Forum. So anytime when you go through any such confusing content, please make a note of it, and that will be helping you when you are revising it. Yes, proceeding further. Countries with which India has signed civil nuclear agreement. Others are quite common, but only the underlined or the highlighted ones are found to be peculiar, and they are peculiar because of their existence in the international setup. Okay, they don't occur frequently, but due to the presence of nuclear raw materials, India has signed or gone in for civil nuclear agreement. Logically, yes, a country like India will go in for a civil nuclear agreement provided the partner country is either good in technology, nuclear related technology, or has the sufficient raw materials. So we generally speak about logics used to find solve the papers. No, that logics revolve around these informations only, because it is not possible to remember everything. Whereas based on our preparation, you would have known that uranium or thorium is particularly found in this country. So there is a higher possibility for India to sign a civil nuclear agreement with these countries. Okay, so that is how logic works. And in UPSC, basically these logics and the facts stored in our residual memory will help us to solve the paper. Fine. And other also the similar indexes which are quite confusing, by the Global Soft Power Index by the UK based organization called Brand Finance, and Gender Social Norms Index, Gender Inequality Index is by UNDP, whereas Gender Parity Index is by UNESCO, and Global Gender Gap Report is by World Economic Forum. Fine. So shall we proceed next? Yes. Okay. And while trade agreements, you would have also seen about comprehensive economic partnership agreements and cooperation agreements. Okay, they are basically same, but the comprehensive, that is, they deal more with trade in goods, services, investments, as well as the intellectual property rights. Okay, they are similar to free trade agreements, but the areas that they deal with is more comprehensive. Okay, so that is what is the difference. And CEPA is more comprehensive than the CECA, and India has signed a partnership agreement with South Korea, Japan, whereas it has signed a comprehensive agreement with Malaysia and Singapore. Okay, freedom of navigation operations conducted by USA in South China Sea. Okay, and a small tip here, short revisions, USA has not ratified the United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas, and India shares maritime boundary. Just a short revision. Previous slide, just a minute. 10-day dawn celebration, just like Tishreen revolution associated with Iraq, this celebration is associated with Iran for making the anniversary of Iranian revolution. Fine. So hope you made a note of it. Moving back. Okay, proceeding further. Just as I had mentioned earlier, please make a note of these organizations. Fine. So I'm giving time for you to just make a note of it. Most of the organizations we would have covered in our slides in our presentation itself. Apart from that, if there is any, just like D10, the Democracy 10, which was coined in the recent G7 Partnership Summit. Okay, so just those countries, make a note of it. G7, the Democracy 10 is basically a combination of G7 plus India plus Australia plus South Korea. F5 is Fragile 5, Permanent 5 is UNSC permanent members, Next, there is G7, G20, BRICS, Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, IORA, IONS, Eurasian Economic Union. Okay, and fact about EAU is that like economic union, like European Union, it doesn't have the same monetary aspects. Okay, the currency is not same for all the groups, for all the members. Next, there is Eurasian group, Andean and Mercosur related to the trade agreements of South America, Arctic Council, OPEC, OPEC Plus, Gulf Cooperation Council, Democracy 10. There is Five Eyes Intelligence, again a security setup, ASEAN as well as Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Fine. So next is regarding the few maps also important for our examination. Okay, be thorough with Belt and Road Initiative maps. Okay, what areas, you don't have to mug up everything, but just have a glance at these maps. Okay, as I had mentioned earlier, IO comes in combination with environment, geography, and also the economic parts. So regarding geographic plus IO, be thorough with these maps. Okay, Belt and Road Initiatives, and next is Afghanistan especially. Fine. And next is INSTC, North South Transport Corridor. Okay, just focus on like which country it touches, or it is a maritime route or it is a land route. Just focus on these areas. Just have the map in your mind so that you will be able to recollect the facts. Next is was the recent fight between Armenia and Azerbaijan regarding the control over this particular region in the map. Okay. Next is in the Ethiopia also, Horn of Africa, regarding the control of Tigray region. So the maps, be very thorough, and the most challenging part would be the West Asian maps. Okay, so be thorough with these maps. All these maps are shared with you. Okay, so coming to the last slide, but also we'll discuss the questions also. Okay, because we had assured yesterday that we'll be discussing some questions, so we'll be discussing that questions and ending our session. So final, if you have any queries, any feedback, do mail at kishankumar.s@shankarais.in. Okay, so guys, all the best for your preparation. Okay, so the part here is you have all studied well, 1 year of preparation or any amount of preparation, but don't just waste that preparation but getting tensed at that moment. Okay, live the moment of 2 hours during the prelims examination. That is what I could say to you, because you all slog a lot. Okay, we all work hard, but ultimately that stress that builds up during that particular 2 hours is enormous, which prevents us from giving us the desired performance. Okay, so what I would say is that maybe you could differ also. Go without any expectations to the examination. You will definitely ace well. Okay, expectations results in stress, and that ultimately results in poor performance too. Okay, so I do not want to make it into an advisory session. So best wishes to your preparation, and I'm hopeful of seeing you for preparing for upcoming mains. Okay, so before winding up, we'll finish the queries regarding the subject, as well as any feedbacks regarding the session is welcome in the mail ID. So before winding up, we'll solve few questions and end the session. Just a minute, guys. I'll open up the yes, the PPTs would be shared yesterday as well as today. we had mostly covered. There's a question, is this 2-day discussion topics would be fine for revising? Yes, we had covered mostly. Okay, we have covered almost everything. So in case you happen to find any small topics, please do your self preparation also. Okay, we can refer SAIO book. Yes, definitely the table has been taken from that only. FATF is important. Yes, the blacklist, the grey list of FATF. Of course, since these are known and it has been in news for long, I haven't focused on that topic. So you can do your self study in FATF also. Okay. So okay, just the complicated ones we'll just share. Okay. And now see, Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape. Again, it's a combination of IO plus environment. And here you can easily eliminate two things, that is the environment program as well as the IMF. Sorry, the IMF and ADB could be eliminated easily. Only a doubt will come up in UNEP and World Bank. But taking the logic being a financial program, a biocarbon fund initiative for the entire globe, it may be taken as World Bank. As we had seen the World Bank session, they had mentioned innovation, knowledge sharing as well as financial products and services for the global development. So under it, we could easily term World Bank as the answer for this. Okay. Again, it's an easy one. India is a member of which among the following? Okay, a membership based question. Basel III Accord regarding financial things. Indian Ocean Rim Association. See, just the shallow things they are questioning. See the options, the statements. It was established very recently in response to incidents of piracy and accident of oil spills. It is an alliance meant for maritime security only. Both the statements are quite sweeping, so you can easily identify that it is not right. The term in arc, again it was directly in news before the examination, hence it was asked. It is India's underwater observatory to scientifically study the Arctic region. Again, this was the direct news. BirdLife International. Again, it was in news. Fortaleza Declaration, as I had mentioned. Again, IUCN is an organ of UN? Definitely not. From the first statement itself. See, whenever you go through such statements type of question, choose your lead statement. Out of 3 statements, you should be familiar with at least one statement and you should definitely know whether it is right or wrong. Using that statement as your lead, then proceed with the options. Okay. Say for example, if you know the first statement is wrong, then you can easily eliminate 3 options. Only, but for that, your revision and the focus of, the choice of topics should be in such a way that you'll be able to choose the lead statement. Fine. So next is global economic prospects. We had covered agreement on agriculture, again a WTO 1. Rio plus 20 conference, yes, known to all. Mekong Ganga, we had covered. Beijing Declaration, and this one was quite peculiar because we cannot apply logics unless we know it definitely, because the right answer is agenda for women's empowerment. Okay, so in questions where you have no idea about it, okay, you can't apply any logic. These are the questions that you can prevent, that you can stop attempting there. Okay, because you have the liberty to leave 5 to 10 questions, assuming that 90 is the safest. 85 to 90 is the safest number of questions to be attempted at prelims. So you have a liberty to leave 10 questions. So this could be one among them, because you don't have any idea unless you know it for sure. You can't attempt such questions. So again, a membership based organization. It is easy. It is regarding NPT, who are recognized as nuclear powers. Okay, and see this also, how sweeping these statements are. The bigger ones are generally sweeping, and also it would be easy to solve these questions. Okay, regarding FAOs, GIAHs. Okay, see the statements: to provide modern technology, training in modern farming methods, and financial support. What is the correlation between heritage and modern technologies? There is no such correlation. Okay, And see the second statement, to identify and safeguard eco-friendly traditional farm practices. Okay, that seems to be quite applicable. Okay, and see again the third statement, to provide geographical indication status to all varieties of agriculture produce in such identified GIHs. Again, it's a sweeping statement. So out of these three statements, second happens to be more logical to be guessed as right one. So that is the answer. Fine. So ease of doing business index known to all. Doctors Without Borders, again a non-governmental international organization. This could be guessed also easily. With reference to an initiative called Economics of Ecosystem and Biodiversity. See the first statement itself, it is an initiative hosted by UNEP, IMF and World Economic Forum. The Monetary Forum doesn't involve in such things, okay? If at all it is involved, we would have obviously read it in some current affairs that we follow, okay, being a significant development of IMF, but it is not so. So using this as the lead statement itself, you can easily solve the questions. Fine. Again, see the statement, new development bank being set up by APEC. See the questions in IO and IR part is quite shallow, but that depends how well you handle the questions there. Fine. Gulf Cooperation Council. We had seen global financial stability. RCEP membership, yes. And again, see the second statement regarding International Solar Alliance. It includes all the member countries of United Nations. It is not possible. Okay. So be very careful while you read the statement. Okay. Because the answer lies in your statement itself. Only if you are calm and composed, you can identify the traps laid by UPSC for you in that statement, and that will help you to solve the answers. Stability mechanism, again, it is for providing financial assistance to Eurozone. Option B. Yes, UNFCCC meeting, Paris meeting, it is known. Not so challenging. So just proceeding to next. Again, all three indicators, International Food Policy Research Institute. Okay. So yes. And these are like combination of environment plus, IO plus economics regarding masala bonds. Okay. IFC only released that masala bonds of World Bank, and they are rupee denominated bonds, which are the source of debt financing for public as well as the private sector. Both are correct. Okay. Amber box, blue box, green box. Yes, these are all known. Yes. IMF's SDR, the reason was Chinese renminbi. And also, please identify the currencies that are found in London Interbank Offering Rate, LIBOR, okay, which is just like the interest rate offered by London Central Bank, okay, but just try to know what are the currencies that are used there, because it doesn't involve the Chinese renminbi, it involves the Swiss francs, US dollars, British pound sterlings, euros, and Japanese yen. Okay, it is Swiss francs, which is an odd one out there in LIBOR. IMFC committee. Yes, prohibition for. Okay. And see, that is also a common one. Trans-Pacific Partnership, again, see the statements. It is an agreement among all the Pacific Rim countries except China and Russia. Again, it is a strategic alliance for the purposes of maritime security only. Definitely not. It is a trade agreement, and it doesn't involve all the Pacific Rim countries. Okay. Once you know the memberships, then that will help you to answer such questions. And yes, these questions are also, we won't have any logic unless and until we know we can go in for such questions. Otherwise, it is better to omit such questions. Regarding India-Africa Summit, it is held in 2015 as a third such summit, and it was actually initiated by Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, the right answer is option A, but it is sheer impossible to remember all the facts which had happened 70 years back. Okay, unless and until you are sure with these questions, proceed it. Otherwise, please omit such questions. See, the like in UPSC prelims, you also have to have a clear idea of which question you are going to omit. Okay, which is not your basket of answering. So that has to be omitted so that you minimize the mistakes you make at the paper. Fine. So sustainable development goals, yes. So 2017, all normal questions only, nothing significant. We'll jump to 2020, the last years. 2018 and 19 we had covered yesterday. Okay, so 2020, and yes, see this. The value of Indo-Sri Lanka trade has consistently increased in the last decade. Last decade, there was very lot of financial disruptions, but it is not possible to have a constant trade relationship with the country. So first statement, wrong. Textile and textile articles constitute an important item of trade between India and Bangladesh. We might not know at that time. Okay, so assuming that, we'll skip this statement for the moment, move to the next statement. In the last 5 years, Nepal has been the largest trading partner of India in South Asia. The moment you read this statement, your mind should not wonder whether what is the trade quantum between these two countries. No. The moment you read the statement, try to remember what are the countries in South Asia. Okay. First, know the countries in South Asia. If you recognize the countries, then you will remember China. The China is the largest trading partner with India and not Nepal. Then you can easily assume, arrive at the right answer that statement 3 is wrong. By eliminating 1 and 3, the right answer is option B, 2 only. Okay. Again, G20 countries, a direct question. If you know the members, you can answer. West Texas Intermediate. Again, the terms-based question, as I had mentioned in the types itself, it is regarding the crude oil. IAES safeguard. Again, successively, the questions has been raised in this sector. Okay. Again, it is easy to identify provided you are logically strong. Answer B. Some use imported uranium and others use domestic supplies. Okay. With reference to trade related investment measure. Okay. This was one thing out of box from the previous years. Okay. Quantitative restrictions on imports by foreign importers are promoted. Fine. And they apply to investment measures related to trade in both goods and services. They are not concerned with regulation of foreign investment. Okay, only this part, this question was not familiar with all. Okay, and few found it tough to solve the trims part. Fine, answer is option C. Okay, the second statement is wrong. It doesn't apply both to trade and goods and services. Okay, but you can easily identify statement 3 to be wrong. Why? Because what is the objective for a trade related agreement? To regulate the foreign investment. It also poses a threat to the sovereignty of the particular country, right? So that is a sweeping statement. So taking 3 out, you can easily eliminate C and D, and you have to take a call between, C, 3 is correct. So you can easily eliminate A and B, and you have to take a call between C and D. From C and D, 1 is also right. So you just have to take a call whether 2 is right or wrong. Okay. So that may be little confusing because most of us would have thought that it involves in trade in both goods and services, but it is not so. The right answer is option C. Again, Talanov dialogue, it was in news in 2017-18, okay, regarding the UNFCCC climate change talks, okay. And Alma-Ata declaration was in news last year regarding the healthcare, okay. And the thing, A convention for child rights, okay, the child custodial rights, it was also news. And whereas under 2 coalition for phasing out the coal, okay. And because under 2 coalition was dealing with the federal partners of a national government, okay. And from our country, it was Telangana and one more state to take part in that coalition to phase out the coal and involve actively in climate change negotiations, okay. So 2 and 4 are wrong, 1 and 3 are right. The right answer is option C. And Global Trench Reserve, it's a credit system granted by IMF to its members. Okay, guys. So that's it. We come to the end of the session. So best wishes to your exam. Do well. All the best, and hoping to see you all for preparing for the mains examination 2021. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.